Hello and welcome to Irish Science Fiction. My name is Brian Sexton and this is going to be chapter 55 of the 56 chapters of Nancy Good Aim, the Space Ranger. So getting very close to the end. A hen, it's a daw, it's a tree, and away we go. At eventide, on what is known as Scrumptolian Dipple on the Jupiterian calendar, on the last day of the Sozman era, a flying Calomp approached the Jupiterian city of Habon, or Sozman City, as it was then known. In the Calomp were two Jupiterians, a Martian sheriff, European Space Agency mission specialist Nancy McGinley, and a sopping wet book. They were bound for the Omperdom chamber in the third comulsified layer of that city. The reason for this is that a wizard known as Bork Zungemeyer had promised to help Nancy and two elderly Jupiterians gain access to the heavily guarded Habon citadel, where Sozman Borkstapple controlled life on Jupiter. Nancy's aim was to make contact with the only other surviving member of the first human crewed mission to another planet. The two elderly Jupiterians aimed to dismember Sozman with the hope that doing so would put an end to his reign over the inhabitants of Jupiter. "We're getting close to Habon and the Omperdom chamber," announced Nancy to her three passengers. Nancy was not really sure how she knew that, or how she had gotten to where she was, in general and geographically. The huge expanse of a Jupiterian city expanded in every direction below the flying vehicle she was somehow able to operate. A gust of wind hit the Calomp and turned it parallel to a vast artificial chasm running across the strange urban landscape. The sides of the chasm revealed layers of different styles of construction, where new parts of the artificial landscape had been constructed on top of older ones. At the edge of the third layer, on the side to the right of the destination that Calomp had been moving, was a ledge. It contained several other stationary flying vehicles, and a figure. Nancy released the levers. She felt the wind guiding the vehicle, and remembered the wizard's words from chapter 46. The Calomp descended to a ledge. "We're going to land now," she said. "This is the third comulsified layer. I think the wizard Zungemeyer is there waiting for us."
"I can tell that, Nancy," noted the Martian sheriff. "You do not need to explain such simple things to me. I know very well where I am at all times. I have to. For it is often up to me to tell others where they are and what they should be doing. But I will allow a simple comment like that now, for our brightly clothed friend Bip is a bit simple. Although you did fight well back there in chapter 53, Bip. I'll give you that much. Not brilliant fighting, but well enough. And I suppose, Nancy, your simple statement is probably needed for the young Noob here, as he is young. But in future, don't include me in stupid simple statements. I have the conquering and reigning of Jupiter to think of. And that is a lot for one person to contemplate, you know. Probably too much for another Jupiterian. Definitely too much for any other Martian. And humans don't count."
Nancy was the first to exit through the broken rear of the Calomp cabin. She picked up the damp book of Bongern as she left and carefully handed it to the waiting wizard Bork Zungemeyer. He wordlessly nodded a thanks and shook his head somberly as Bip, the sheriff, and Noob 06351 clumsily followed Nancy onto the platform that stuck out from the third comulsified layer of Habon and provided a view of the central chasm and a place to park large flying vehicles. The wizard carefully wrapped the book in cloth and motioned for Nancy, Bip, the sheriff, and Noob 06351 to follow him. He walked to a large hole in the built environment to the side of the platform, known to its inhabitants as the Omterior Follogang. It was badly maintained, had cracked stone and metal paving, poorly lighted, mouldy crumbly walls, a large arched brown and black brick ceiling, and a general air of decay.
"This place is a kip," noted the sheriff.
"This place is incredible," noted Noob 06351.
"Maybe to you, but you are a simpleton that has lived underground for most of his life. This place is not incredible, it's very credible, young fella. Out-credible, in fact. And not in a good way, in a dirty, smelly way. But don't worry, it'll be great when I take control, although maybe not for you. I'm thinking of banning young people from the city, so enjoy the manky view of this kip while you can."
"Wait a minute," snapped Bip. "Did one of ye just call Habon a kip?" He'd been looking intently at the surroundings, but the sheriff's words stopped him in his tracks. Bip flashed the head of his blunted Tamaglodian axe in all directions. "I hope one of ye is not insulting Habon, because if ye were, I'd have to inflict pain on ye. I am the founder of the Habon Defence League." "Well, me, Morkett or a Yumlan and Myak the Flart, but the two of them ended up dismembered inside of Breezy McGasbug's Muffledorf chest." Lied Nancy. "The sheriff just said you fought well in that forest back in chapter 53. It was a compliment. Nobody was insulting this place."
"What forest?"
asked Bip. "I don't know the name of it," said Nancy.
"It will be called the Forest of Extraction," noted the sheriff. and every young Jupiterian will learn to know it was the starting place for the great leader on his epic assault on Sozman City, so all you can know it as that too. What the hell are you on about, you big dope? I was asking Nancy. If I wanted to listen to a self-important gobdosh scutter on about nothing, I'd have joined the Sozniaks, said Bip. I think your memory is coming back, Bip, said Nancy. How could you know that, Nancy? Have you seen all the stuff that's supposed to be happening inside my head? Snapped Bip. No, said Nancy. It's just you mentioned the Sozniaks. All Sozniaks are gobshites, said Bip. They're the reason I set up the Hobble Defence League. Well, me, Morgan or Amyakta. Anyways, we set up the Hobble Defence League to put a bit of schmuck on those stupid Sozniaks. Them and their dope of a leader, Borkstapple, with his stupid water-hating Shenobble. I tell you what, Nancy, I'm going to make that bollocks pay for what he did to Jupiter. If I ever get close to that prick, I'll find one of those Shenobbles and shove it right up his... This is your lucky evening, Bip, announced the sheriff. For you are on your way to lay siege to his command centre, and you can surely do what you want with a Shenobble and Sozman. Only be sure he dies, Bip. That's important.
The wizard Borkstapple stopped to face Nancy, Bip, the sheriff, and Noob 06351. The cloth he had used to wrap the book in was soaked through.
You can all discuss this in the Opera chamber. I want to get this book back to where it belongs.
The wizard then turned to Nancy.
Why is the Book of Bongerlon sopping wet?
He asked. It was in the sea, explained Nancy.
In the sea? Such a place to put it. That wizard Oberon was an awful idiot. I'm not surprised he ended up getting eaten by a marmsticle. Imagine thinking, this book is very important, I know what I'll do with it, I'll throw it in the ocean. No wonder I couldn't find it. I take it these three helped you find it. Excuse me, I am not one of these three, I am one of one, and a great one of one at that, said the sheriff. I am the leader of the Army of Darkness, and I'm here on a mission to take control of Jupiter. Fair enough to call the other two these two. They're not near as important as me. But as you didn't ask, and should have, the one in the bright clothing is okay, but not great at fighting, and the young one is useless.
Bart helped retrieve the book, said Nancy. He died doing it.
Bart died 9 days ago, Nancy, noted the wizard. But we will all die someday. For it is written in the Book of Bongerlon that just as the day is born from darkness, so it shall return. Not me, announced the sheriff. I am planning to be the first being never to die.
Wow, gasped Noob 06351.
Gobshite,
noted Bip.
Said the wizard. Nancy and your three friends, we must retaliate our path. For all this is written, please, follow me back to the Opera chamber.
Bork then turned. Nancy motioned for Bip, Noob 06351 and the sheriff to continue following the wizard. They did. Over badly maintained cracked stone and metal paving, in poor lighting, flanked by mouldy, crumbly walls, under an arched brown and black brick ceiling, until they came to a door in a particularly badly lit section of the passageway. A small, inconspicuous sort of door, set into a particularly mouldy, crumbly wall. And the wizard opened it, and they saw an enormous room. Its roof was supported by hundreds of elaborately carved polished rock pillars that splayed and leaned towards the ceiling. Its walls appeared to be blue and glow. Its floor was made of thousands of transparent, faintly green cobblestones, and beneath them a what seemed to be brightly lit sea, the colour of the walls, but filled with hundreds of what looked to be multicoloured fish. The fish were singing a long, slow, sad song. The notes echoed up through the transparent cobbled floor and into the room. They pulsed up to the colourful angled pillars and then found a home in a vast cloud of tiny glowing fireflies hovering beneath the enormous vaulted roof. Seated at a table in the centre of the room were two elderly Jupiterians named Habon and Shenobble Unterwackle. They turned to face the visitors and strained to identify those visitors.
Come Gallagher!
Shouted Habon.
Who?
Asked Shenobble.
Your son, you big idiot! You have come to save us, Come Gallagher!
Yelled Habon excitedly.
And Jupiter, I knew you'd do it! I am the leader of the Army of Darkness, announced the sheriff, and I am here to save Jupiter, and rule it properly.
Shenobble then watched as Bip, Nancy, the sheriff, and the emaciated young Noob 06351 followed the book-carrying wizard Borkstapple to the centre of the room where he was seated at the table next to Habon.
Are you sure that's Come Gallagher?
He asked.
What do you mean, am I sure?
Snapped Habon.
Of course I'm sure. He's my son, and he's your too. Did he always have that face?
Asked Shenobble.
No, well, yes. He just got older,
said Habon. She stood up and smiled.
I can't believe it's really you, Gumguller. We knew you'd be back. Life has been terrible under the Sozniaks. Do you of all people would know that? My son, the founder of the Hobble Defence League, here to save us and batter Sozman Borkstapple into a pulp. By the Bongerlon it is, Gumguller,
gasped Shenobble. Now, there is something both universal and unique about the bond between parents and their offspring. It can induce the strongest of emotions. Emotions that no magic can erase. Emotions that can cause long-forgotten memories to come flooding back.
I remember now, said Bip. I drank from the memory trap.
Don't forget not to do it again, suggested Noob 06351.
What are ye both doing here in the opera chamber? Who's looking after the shop?
asked Bip.
We're both here to kill Sozman Borkstapple, Gumgulliger, explained Habon. Hang on a minute, said the sheriff. Who is Sozman Borkstapple, Gumgulliger? I thought the leader of this place was just called Sozman Borkstapple. My son, your leader, is who Gumgulliger is, said Habon proudly. The founder of the Hoblegradger Defence League, Gumgulliger Unterwackle, here to save Jupiter. He is not my leader, said the sheriff. I am his. I am the founder and chief head leader of the Army of Darkness, and I'm soon to be the ruler of all Jupiter, and Mars too once I get organised. Maybe not Earth. Nobody in their right minds will go there. No offence, Nancy.
No offence taken, said Nancy quietly. Something told her to have her crossbow ready. She checked to make sure the one remaining bolt was still in its holster.
Right, fine. Anyway, where was I? Earth is a dump, continued the sheriff. Probably. At least I imagine it is, he added. Where are Markinor and Mjokta, Gumgulliger? asked Shenobble. Dismembered in the Forest of Proverbs, inside Brazy McGaspug's Muffledorf chest. I thought that might happen, said Shenobble. Well, it's just you, me, and your mother left to save the planet now. If there is any saving to be done, I will be the one doing it, said the sheriff. Although I might delegate. Do you three think you can manage, or do you want Nancy and the scrawny young fella or the wizard here to give you a hand?
Give a hand to do what? Asked Nancy.
Kill Sozman Borkstapple and leave me in charge of everything, explained the sheriff.
I only want to make contact with Mission Commander Jerry Staunton, said Nancy. Chancellor Staunton. Nancy turned to face the wizard, who had unwrapped the book and placed it onto the table. I got you the book. It cost me dearly. Now Jerry Staunton is the only other human on this planet. You promised to help me get to him. It is your turn to deliver, she said.
You read from the book, said the wizard.
I did, said Nancy. Can you get me to Mission Commander Jerry Staunton?
There is a reason that you were the only one who could find the book, noted the wizard solemnly. You should read it again. But this time, say the words aloud. There are 2 minds waiting for you.
What do you mean?
asked Nancy. You will know what I mean.
The wizard carefully lifted the book from the table and handed the book to Nancy. She placed it on the ground, squatted down and gently turned the wet pages. The same strange hieroglyphic symbols filled the pages. She turned them until the symbols stopped and the pages were blank. She looked over to the wizard. There's nothing here.
Look harder. Life and death are what happens in between the lines. They are the unfathomable magic that binds the places and the times and the descriptions. There is a reason only you were able to find the book. There is a reason it told you what to do. It is your story. Read it again.
Nancy stared back at the blank pages. Words began to form. Human words. Familiar words. Words that described a place back on Earth. Home and a family. And 2 children. A girl and a boy. Nancy Goodame read aloud, he said. Nancy read aloud. There is something both universal and unique about the bond between humans. Something time and distance cannot erase. Something that can live in memories. Something beyond magic. Her eyes then met with 11 words. 11 words that made her forget the city and the Opera chamber and the wizard and everything except who she knew was listening. Nancy spoke the words slowly. I see you. I miss you. I will always miss you. Tell your father I miss him too. Far, far away on planet Earth in a bedroom, Kate listened as her older brother spoke the same words. We should tell Mammy we miss her too, she said. She knows, he said. Something caused Nancy to look up from the book. It was the sheriff complaining.
Stupid humans, he snapped. That makes no sense.
The book of Bongerlon wasn't written for the likes of you, said the wizard.
Right, well, I want my own book. The book of the Army of Darkness. And it'll be a lot better than that. It'll be filled with all the great things I did, with a big focus on how I smashed Sozman Army and took it over with my own. Speaking of which, you lot have work to do. We need to get to Sozman so Bip here can smash his skull in. Make it happen, wizard.
It is not for me to do that, said the wizard.
Hang on a minute. This is why we don't allow magic on Mars. You lot aren't to be trusted. I thought Nancy said you were going to get us into the Sozman City Citadel so she could find her fellow Earther. I tell you now, once I take control, I'm going to have a good long think about batting magic on Jupiter too. I can sort of see where Sozman was coming from when he did that.
Only Nancy can get you to the Citadel, said the wizard. Nancy looked back down at the book and tried to regain the memories that had resurfaced, but the words had disappeared from the pages of the book. She flipped frantically through the pages but could only find strange hieroglyphic markings and blank pages. She felt a moment of terror and lost, and the room beginning to spin. Slowly at first, and then faster. Nancy grabbed a crossbow. The floor began to pulse and melt. Slowly the cobbles became liquid, and Nancy dropped into the water below and was surrounded by multicoloured fish, which moved as one, darting and singing and surging and swirling all around her. She was falling, downwards and downwards and downwards until it did not feel like downwards anymore, and everything became a blur, and the singing became an echo that faded and disappeared, and Nancy found herself standing in a room, a large circular room, with a high polished steel ceiling, and floor-to-ceiling windows all around, except for one large ornate steel door. The windows looked out over a panoramic view of a vast Jupiterian city. The room was impossibly high, and Nancy could see right to the horizon. Flying vehicles moved in lines across the sky, level with the room. Wherever she was high, and the centre of the city. There was a large steel throne in the centre of the room, and sitting on it was a small man with fair hair and glasses in a blue uniform. The breast and arms of the uniform were almost entirely covered in medals of varying sizes. Standing next to the throne were 3 men in blue uniform. Nancy recognised one of them. All 4 were staring behind her. She glanced back to see Bip, Habon, Shenobble, the sheriff and Noob 06341 suddenly appear from nothing onto the steel floor of the large room.
"Well, now that was remarkable,"
said the sheriff. He nodded approvingly at Nancy. He then looked around briefly and nodded to the small, fair-haired, carefully decorated man on the throne.
"And this place is impressive too," he noted, "with a great view. Great for keeping an eye on things. I would have no problem spending time here." "Sozman Borkstapple," said Habon Underwackle. "Sozman Borkstapple," repeated Shenobble Underwackle. "Sozman Borkstapple," repeated Gumgulliger Bip Underwackle.
"Jerry, is that you?" asked Nancy. She moved closer to the familiar uniformed figure next to the throne. "Where have you been? Bart is dead." The small, fair-haired, carefully decorated man on the throne stood up and said,
"Who the fuck are you lot? What just happened? How did you get here?"
asked Sozman Borkstapple.
"I bet those fuppin' witches and wizards are behind this,"
he added angrily.
"My name is Habon Underwackle,"
said Habon Underwackle.
"Shenobble Underwackle,"
said Shenobble Underwackle.
"Gumgulliger Underwackle,"
said Gumgulliger Underwackle.
"And I'm also known as Bip. And I'm here to kill you. Never heard of ye. Are ye some sort of celebrities?"
asked the well-decorated and uniformed Sozman Borkstapple.
"Never mind,"
he added.
"How did ye get here?" "Magic,"
said Habon Underwackle.
"Yeah, magic,"
added Shenobble Underwackle.
"I'm gonna kill you,"
said Bip. "Is it you, Jerry?" "I know it's you," said Nancy. "What's going on? Why are you here in this place?"
"The same reason anybody is anywhere on Jupiter," announced the carefully decorated, uniformed and now standing Sozman. "And that is to serve me and help my plans for the solar system."
No, you're wrong there," said Noob 06351. "We're definitely here to kill you. We serve the sheriff."
"You serve the sheriff, Noob, whatever you are," said Bip. "The rest of us serve the cause of the Hobblegranniger Defence League. Well, maybe not Nancy, but she's from Earth."
"Why won't you acknowledge me, Jerry? I know it's you," continued Nancy. The 2 other uniformed Sozniak guards looked to Sozman and then moved towards Nancy, Bip, Habon, Shenobble, the sheriff and Noob 06351 and carefully removed wands from somewhere in their jackets and pointed the wands in the general direction of the visitors. They both glanced towards Sozman for a second time. He held up his hand.
"Don't kill them yet," he said. "I'm curious about this sheriff fella, the skinny lad, sirs. What makes you so great, Sheriff?" "Lots of things," announced the sheriff. "Mostly my mind, and the fact that I set up the Army of Darkness, and I talk to the gut, which, as all living things know, is a great honour for living creatures. To have one of their own be in contact with the creator of the universe is a pride-worthy thing for all. It'll come in handy when I rule the solar system. You know, Sozman, I have to say, this is a fine place you have here. I must admit, I've been very impressed by your work. Very efficient. Word of your greatness has spread to Mars," noted the sheriff. "Really?" asked Sozman. "I've been wondering about that. I regularly send rocket ships, but they usually come back with nothing. Well, with the exception of my good friend Chancellor Staunton here. Though he's not from Mars, he's from some other place. Anyway, I thought Martians didn't care about me. This is good news. Have you not heard much about me yourself, Sozman?" asked the sheriff. "No, why would I have?"
Sozman glanced to the 2 guards, and then over to the large, ornately decorated steel door that formed the only entrance and exit to the room. The guards returned his gaze. Sozman nodded towards the visitors, stepped closer to where Nancy, Bip, Habon, Shenobble, Noob 06351 and the sheriff were standing, and the guards moved closer too. The sheriff gave a loud cough.
"The why you should have is called the Army of Darkness. I expected word to have arrived to everyone about that. All I can do is blame my followers. They're not the brightest. In any case, not to change the subject, but we're here to kill you."
explained the sheriff. We've had reports of an uprising, said the blue uniformed man Nancy had recognised. I didn't want to bother you about it, Mr. Borkstapple. Just some badly armed slaves. Seemingly they came from the tunnels of Tunticle. Nothing to be worried about. We've more or less quelled it, I think. I'm fairly sure it'll work out fine. Jerry, asked Nancy for the third time. It is you. She made to close the distance between herself and Jerry, to get closer, to look into his eyes and try to make sense of what was happening. Something told her to arm her crossbow. She swiftly loaded the bolt. Drop your weapon! Yelled one of the two blue-uniformed wand-wielding Sozniaks that had been approaching Nancy, Bip, Habon, Shenobble, Noob 06351 and the sheriff. Sozman gestured with both hands at the guards and grinned. I'll advise you to do what you're told. These two are elite Sozniak guards, and elite Sozniak guards are not to be messed with. Elite guards me hole! I gotta pull you up on your vocabulary there, Sozman, yelled Bip. Elite means that they're the top of their game and constantly improving. The word you were looking for there was pretentious. Pretentious this thing! Yelled one of the guards. He aimed the wand that he had been holding and fired a bright blue bolt of energy towards Bip. What happened next happened quickly. Remarkably quickly for an aged and decrepit Bundrosnian shopkeeper. Bip's father, Shenobble Unterwackle, leapt sideways and placed himself in between Bip and the bright blue bolt. The impact of the bolt threw Shenobble backwards and slammed him violently against one of the large floor-to-ceiling windows, which cracked. This caused a rapid influx of cold air through the crack as the pressure inside the room suddenly attempted to match the air pressure outside, which knocked everyone in the room from their feet. Noob 06351 fired his axe from his now horizontal position. It was not clear who he'd been aiming for, but it didn't find whoever the target was, and the axe continued towards one of the other large floor-to-ceiling windows, smashing it completely, which increased the air turbulence in the room. Mission Commander / Chancellor Tom Staunton scrambled to his feet and began to run unsteadily towards the single large ornate steel door. For Obligon's sake, you are all useless! Snapped Sozman. He grasped the wand from the guard that had missed Bip and partially hit his father Shenobble. Sozman took aim at the clumsily retreating Chancellor. Traitor! You can't run from me! He yelled, but he was wrong. A bolt from Nancy's crossbow slammed into Sozman's skull. Nancy had barely been aware she had fired it. It happened quickly, instinctively. Sozman dropped the wand, collapsed backwards, and the reign of Sozman was over. Jerry Staunton kept moving, out of the steel door. Bip flung his axe at the head of the one blue uniformed guard that still had hold of a wand. It made an unpleasant flonk sound on contact, and found a messy home in the guard's head, which caused the second, now unarmed guard to yell, I surrender! I never even liked Sozman anyway! Which caused the sheriff to say, Good move! You are now part of the army of darkness, so you can like and serve me instead! Nancy dropped the crossbow and ran, out the large stair door. It led to a large round steel stairwell. She could hear the clank of panicked footsteps retreating below, and ran down after them. Above her and inside the former throne room of Sozman Borkstapple, a new era for the planet of Jupiter had started. It began with a badly injured elderly Bundrosnian named Shenobble Unterwackle, a scrawny young farmer tunnel-digging noob with bad aim, a founding member of the Hoblegranagar Defence League named Gumgulliger Unterwackle, also called Bip, who had excellent aim, his mother, the lifeless body of a former dictator, the lifeless body of a Sozniak guard, a terrified newly recruited to the army of darkness blue uniformed former Sozniak, and a Martian sheriff. Right, said Bip. I hereby name this place Hoblegranagar. Sorry, rename this place Hoblegranagar. So that's what it's called if anyone asks. I'll allow you that. You deserve as much, agreed the sheriff. It's a pity Sozman had to die, he added. He seemed like a nice person. I might have kept him on as an advisor. Are you all right, son? Croaked Shenobble. He's fine, Shenobble, but you're not. You took a belt of an Aldernon there, bravely. And I hate to say it, because normally you're useless and slow, but not this time. So you did well there. Saved that boy's life, said Habon. But we better get you to a wizard. You'll need help recovering. You hit the window fairly hard there. How was the window? Asked Shenobble. Wrecked. Cracked right through. I don't think it's fixable, noted Habon. It better be fixable, snapped the sheriff. I don't want to have a throne room with broken windows. Are we missing anyone? Asked Bip. Nancy, said Noob 06351. She took off running out that door after Chancellor Staunton, and she left her crossbow behind her. That's not good, said Bip. I better go after her. He then messily retrieved his blunted Tamagaloding axe from where it had landed in the head of the Sozniak guard. Ye lot get help, and spread the word. Sozman is dead. And that I am the new ruler, added the sheriff. Oh, and that I talk to the gut, just in case they don't know who I am, he added. Arse, said Bip, before turning and walking to the large ornate steel door, which is open to a large ornate steel round staircase, and it is sending European Space Agency mission specialist Nancy Goodame McGinley and her mission commander. And that was it for nightfall on the 9th day of the first human expedition to another planet. A fleeing Sozniak Chancellor, a dead dictator, 2 broken windows, Shenobble Unterwackle, Habon Unterwackle, a former tunnel-digging noob, a founding member of the Hoblegranagar Defence League, European Space Agency mission specialist Nancy Goodame McGinley, a crossbow,
and the last remaining copy of the Book of Bongerlon on Jupiter.
Alright, that was a long one. If you stuck with it, fair play to you, thank you. The final part will be up probably next week. So thanks for sticking this far, appreciate it. Chat to you soon.